Welcome, guys, to a huge showcase on Sun Wukong and Guild Boss 1. I'm going to do a ton of testing. We're going to start off comparing him as a Nightmare unit at A0 in Guild Boss 1, and then as a Watchguard unit at A0 in Guild Boss 1. And then you can see behind me, I've already finished. I've blacked out the results, but we do a head-to-head comparison with no Invigoration, no Wings of Grace, no Inspiration Hero. At points in this video, I might mention Constance because that was the original plan. However, there was no way to use her and have 3 open spots for Sun Wukong summons. So in the end, we took her out. We did no Inspiration Heroes, no extra buffs, pure damage. We compared all these 5 units, Sun Wukong through Lust at A3 and then at A5. The results are incredible. Stay tuned. This is quite the video. Sun Wukong. My God, this guy is so flippin' good. How the heck are you, everybody? Welcome to the Fastidious test server. As you can see, here we are in Guild Boss 1, the Drake's Chasm. We're doing Nightmare 4 today, and we're going to do the first of many showcases that I have planned for the Monkey Man himself. So we're starting off with this one in Guild Boss 1. Then in a day or two, we'll do Guild Boss 2, showing him off in Semra, Titanic Ruins, where he's also phenomenal. And then next week, before his banner at some point, I want to do a PvP showcase and really show him off in Single Target Arena. This guy is very, very strong. He's OP. He's someone I'm really excited a lot of people are going to get, and basically anyone who prepares will get for free in this game. It only costs 200 summons now for limited. They are showering us with holiday gifts in this game. If you've saved at all, you should be in pretty good shape. Once you summon for him, you do a rebate, this, that, and the other. I want to do a very comprehensive showcase of him today in Guild Boss 1, so this is what I have planned. If you don't know who Sun Wukong is, you can go check my first video I put out yesterday. Thank you so much to all you guys who watched it. That is great. He's a very unique, very fun. I shouldn't say very unique. He's our second consecutive limited that is a Nightmare and Watchguard fighter. But there's a lot of stuff in this kit that makes him uniquely powerful in terms of DPS. And he also has some very fun things in terms of his summons and his ability to do crowd control, particularly stuns. But what I want to talk about is this dual faction membership. He's got Nightmare and he has got Watchguard. So I want to try him out in both teams in Guild Boss 1. So I've actually designed a specific Guild Boss 1 Nightmare 4 comp in which we don't have to change anything except for moving Sun Wukong each time. So it's going to be pretty cool. So you can see I have at least 4 Nightmare units to max out the bonus from Torador, our Nightmare Lord, each time. We start with 5. When I'm going to try him in Watchguard, it will go to 4, but that's still the maximum for the bonus. It's a very nice situation. We can see, is he stronger as a Nightmare unit or a Watcher unit? Very good as a Watcher. The only reason I'm using Ingrid instead of Leia strictly is just because I needed another platform DPS, so this is the way to do it. But this video, though there'll be guide components, is very much just to showcase Sun Wukong. So the way we're going to start this off, I'll do a very, very quick overview of his kit. But like I said, check out yesterday's video. And if you want an official guide, that also will be coming next week. So we have a ton of Sun Wukong content, right? I did the video yesterday. We're going to be talking about his banners whenever we're talking about anything for the next week. We've got this Guild Boss 1 showcase, then a Guild Boss 2 showcase, then a Single Target Arena showcase. And then after all that, there's going to be a big guide, like an ultimate guide right before his banner. He's worth it. He's worth that much content. So the plan is we're going to do this initial run. If you haven't noticed, besides our 3 epics, they're all A5. That's super reasonable. And then Volca, who I decided A2 was like the most fair and relatable to all players, though of course not everything about this comp and certainly not the gear is going to be fair and relatable. But Volca A2, that happens at Tide 125. I think it's really approachable. And then every other hero, the 6 other legendaries, they're all A0. So this is our initial test. We're going to do Sun Wukong as a Nightmare unit led by Torador with all A0 legendaries. Then we're going to move him over here, do Sun Wukong as a Watcher led by Ingrid with all A0 legendaries. And then what I actually have planned is we're going to take out this Laurel strat, so it's not going to be this perfectly cycling thing, but we're going to level the playing field because as we do these first 2 tests, Sun Wukong will be our top DPS. I've already done some testing. It's pretty definitive of this group, but that is also because he's the one getting Wings of Grace from Dolores, and he's the one of the platform units that is getting the rage boost from Laurel. And moreover, I never ult with Lucius and Ingrid, so because of that, he's the only DPS benefiting from Laurel. So those initial tests, we do A0 with Sun Wukong in the cycle spot for Nightmare. We do A0 with Sun Wukong as a watcher in the Laurel spot as well. And then we're going to make a couple switches where we like take out Laurel, put in Constance, and then we won't even have to deploy Dolores over here. And then for those comps, we're actually going to test some more Awakenings and really just get a nice kind of DPS comparison between him and these other DPS units. So we'll do him at A3 with also Arrogance and Twyla at A3, and then we'll do him at A5 with Arrogance and Twyla at A5. Pretty dang cool. There's a ton to show you. There's going to be a lot of gameplay. I'm going to try to make this video as concise as it can be, but because there's going to be so much gameplay footage, this video is not going to be short. So please do feel free to skip around at your leisure. Thank you guys very much for tuning in. Make sure you have subscribed to the channel. We are just getting a lot of subs every day now, which is very fun. And I do appreciate the support so much. Sun Wukong, so much to show you. Let's get into it.
Fastidious.
Fastidious.
All right, let's very quickly go through his kit. He's a DPS. He's our millionth fighter in the game. He's a cool mechanic where every third basic attack, he can summon a Sage's clone. That is just a clone of him. And actually, when you see it in gameplay, it does look just like exactly like him. These clones get 100% of his stats, and they deal basic attacks, which do 40% damage. So it's pretty solid when you get 3 of them up, which is his maximum. Additionally, they are more squishy, which kind of does go to our benefit if you choose to run him in his exclusive, because every time he summons a Sage's clone, he restores 6% rage. So you don't, if he ever loses one, it's kind of nice because it's an opportunity to summon again and gain more rage. From everything I've observed, he does not get that rage boost unless he's able to summon. So it's not like once he's maxed them out, if he could have summoned, he'd get the boost. I could be wrong, but I haven't been able to observe that yet. We're going to start this off at base promo, just plus 10. Later on, we're going to use a max promo one. This is an excellent exclusive, and everyone should be saving their Titan Meteorite if they have any, and not forge any of that. That's for your melee ground units until him and his artifact come out. Because this thing's really good. You get that 30% damage, and then you get this extra rage boosting thing. I definitely like it a lot. I would also say Wailing Skull, fantastic for him as well. Let's go to the gear really quickly, actually, while we're here, and then we'll finish off the kit. You can see I went for 2 crit damage pieces. Here's our nice attack bonus piece, and then 2 crit damage pieces. It's kind of like a very standard Guild Boss 1 build. Obviously, it's a very good build. This is pretty endgame, and it's a test server thing. I want to show you him in all his glory. I went a little low on HP, kind of hoping maybe the clones would die here and there, but they really don't. And then you'll see attack just over 20k. 1.6 second interval is solid. A little faster certainly wouldn't hurt. Crit capped, and then coming up towards 400% crit damage. I tried to get all the DPS units very similar stats, and you will see that. I'm not changing the builds at all for the rest of this, so you'll get to see. Nice little rage regen as well. This guy is absolutely spamming ultimates. It is phenomenal. Let's finish that kit off, and then I'll very quickly show you like Arrogance and Twyla and probably Lucius. Those are the key builds. Maybe Ingrid, she's right there anyway. So you can see that's how this all works. He's got a cool thing called Undaunted Might, but it's very underwhelming until you get him A5. Every 30 seconds, he can stack one of these, and it gives 1% boosted damage. That's not that much. So 2.5 minutes into this battle, he'll have a 5% damage boost against the boss. It's something. Here's another thing. If he's summoning Sage Clones, it's not possible. Every third basic attack is going to lead to a 15% post-deployment boost of 20% attack. That is so good. So that's another reason you don't want them dying too much. And if you get him going any reasonable speed and you can keep those clones up, this is like permanent, that 20% boost. So it's really good. It's a very strong kit. Let's go now. Basic, very simple. For this, it doesn't matter, but he does have 2 tile range. The ultimate, very simple, a crazy burst. Each one of these does a mini stun, so the stuns won't help us too much here. For other content, you'll see it will. But this is 1,800% damage, 1,800% damage, and it's pretty darn frequent, especially these first 2 tests I'm going to show you where he's in view of Laurel. Very unique range there. It's kind of like a compacted vortex range. This passive here, basic attacks have a 25% chance to deal 200% damage and inflict the stun. If the enemy can't have a stun dealt to them, it will additionally deal another 200% damage, so 400% total. This is really nice because it synergizes with this passive. So this is another reason why the faster you get him, kind of the smoother things will go, because every time he's going to trigger this, so the 25% of the time, he is going to get a stack of Sunder. If he has 5 stacks when he ults, which isn't really going to be so possible, except for a couple times if we get lucky during this run, but he does have a full 5 stacks and he can consume them. It will happen some ults, but not every ult. But whenever he ults and he has 5 stacks, for the next 15 seconds, he ignores 60% of defense. So something like Apocalypse 2, this is just insane, right? It's phenomenal for Semra, phenomenal for Guild Boss 2. That's the kit. I've definitely improved at understanding it since I first saw it yesterday in its official glory. Now I have a good understanding of it. I've done a lot of testing. Awakenings that I want to talk about right now, it doesn't matter. We'll talk about them as they come. But I did in yesterday's video, I wasn't sure how the A3 worked because it just felt like a redux of the two passives we just discussed. This is how it works. It's basically giving those special things the chance to stun or deal extra damage, and then gain Sunder stacks. It's giving that to his clones. So if you get him A3, he's always going to have the 5 Sunder stacks whenever you ult mindlessly. It doesn't matter unless you're really unlucky. He's going to get way more stuns outside of his ultimate. He's going to get a lot more bonus damage. This A3 is going to be phenomenal. And then his A5 is really, really good. He can get many, many more stacks of the Undaunted Might, which is quite good. He can increase his trigger chance on the stuns or to deal the extra damage to stun immune heroes. And then he doubles the quantity of hits on his ultimate. His A5 is completely nuts. Completely nuts. And you will see that in this video. So I think that's we kind of all get Sun Wukong now. Again, if you want to see slower me learning on the fly explanation, check out yesterday's video. Let's look at the other units. Basically, they're all very similar. I'm going for like 370% to 385% crit damage, trying to get a little bit of attack speed, like 300 to 400, crit capped, and then doing always 1 attack bonus main and 2 crit damage mains. So you see Ingrid, we got this. You can take a peek at the stats. This is going to be Twyla. This is Lucius. This is going to be Folka. This is going to be Arrogance. It's all the same idea. You can see 231, 234, 220, 221, 235 and a half, 231. So everyone's in the 230s except for Volka, which is someone who's not even on the field that much and didn't matter. So she was the least interesting to me. I will say for the artifacts, it's very impressive how he does on this first test because he's running his exclusive at base, whereas we get like a Twyla and a maxed out Scarlet Hunt. We're going to get Lucius and a maxed out Spirit Siphon. We're going to get Arrogance and a maxed out Realm Tear. And he still really holds his own. Ingrid and a maxed out Tear of Twilight. So this is our A0 test with Sun Wukong in the Nightmare comp. Immediately after, we'll do our A0 test with Sun Wukong in the Watcher comp. Simple as that. But basically, these 2 runs I will show you in full. They will be fairly long because they're manual Guild Boss 1 runs. Feel free to skip ahead at your leisure if you just want to see the DPS. After that, things are going to get really spicy when we bring in all our other crazy fighter DPS. So essentially what we'll do, so we can accommodate all those fighters, we don't need Laurel, we don't need Dolores, and then we also don't need Lucius because we don't care about that. We are going to bring in some other Nightmare fighters. So as you can see, we can bring in Kigiri, and we will bring in Lust, and we'll have everyone even. So we'll do our A3 tests with all these relevant fighters at A3, and then we'll have our A5 test with all these relevant fighters at A5. We're going to run Sun Wukong as a Watcher unit. We also won't need Volka. It should be really, really nice. Those I'll speed up a good bit because it's really just about checking those numbers. I'm really excited to see how all these guys do and how they stack up together. However, for now, we're doing our traditional run. I already did a couple playtests and saved a nice auto. We'll use that just for our deploys. I'll tell you right now, only 3 heroes are getting Invig or Wings of Grace buffs. So Invig will go to Arrogance and to Twyla, and then Wings of Grace is going to Sun Wukong. Sun Wukong also for this test and the Watcher A0 test will be the only DPS that needs to ult that is in Laurel range. I say needs to ult because Ingrid only has to ult once at the beginning to go to single target mode, and I will never ult with Lucius since we want to trigger his Demonic Embrace passive. You'll see though, Lucius damage is incredible. So let's head right in. I'm pressing the auto just so it does all the initial deploys and placements for us so we can speed this up. Then we'll interrupt it and do the whole thing manual. I will actually say I realized just now I had to cut because they actually start Ingrid on single target mode. So we don't even ever have to ult with her. We do have to ult with these guys though. So quick ults for Twyla and for Sun Wukong. We're never going to ult with Lucius. Let's get ready for the setup. Let's turn on 1x for a second. Let's go with Hollow. And there's no more DPS waiting to ult, so we can actually ult with Laurel while we wait for Dolores. She's ready. Let's go. As soon as we ult Dolores, we can pick her up. See Sun Wukong is ready again. Ooh, let's get Volka down. Excellent. Throw this thing on 2x. And Dolores is in a Wings of Grace set with her exclusive amulet, which means we don't have to worry about the annoying Dolores RNG. So we're going to be fully consistent with this run and our Watcher run. And then for the next runs, we don't even have Dolores, so it doesn't matter. Let's get ready. Go with Hollow here. Before we do all this stuff, we can go with Dolores, but before we use these DPSers, we want to get those vulnerabilities from Volca. Let's go, let's go. You can see Demonic Embrace mode for Lucius, so he's really dealing some damage. You can see this number here. We already passed 10K with so much time left. Very nice comp here. I want to show you, we have currently 2 clones up. Occasionally they will die, which again is not the end of the world because it's a way for Sun Wukong to get more rage. And look at that, as I'm speaking on this slow-mo mode, he just made another clone. He gets these up fast, right? We have him at 1.6 seconds. So we'll never be without a clone, assuming only one is dying at a time. Our brief moments of 2 instead of 3 will never last longer than 4.8 seconds, usually a bit faster. So very good. Laurel's ready. Let's take a peek. Let's pick up. Let's put down. We're going to wait for this ult to get ready. Ult quickly. Now we'll get up. Excellent. Trigger, trigger. We can get Torador down. The defense break is not going to change the world here for us. Also, if you missed it, Torador was initially placed at the very beginning with that auto deploy. I had him putting an Invig buff over there on Twyla. And if you don't want to just see Invig on Twyla, Wings of Grace, 12%. Ooh, that's bizarre. Why is that? So where did that land then? Did the Wings of Grace land on Twyla? I guess so. All right, so the Wings of Grace is on Twyla. Well, at least it will be consistent between the two, I suppose. The Wings of Grace Invig interaction is tremendously bugged. We can ult there with Sun Wukong. Doing too much talking, not enough playing. Easy, really nice. We're coming up on 20K now. There's Demonic Embrace. The annoying thing with Lucius is the Demonic Embrace has RNG, so like you can't perfectly line him up with Dolores every time, which would really take him to another level. We are going to wait. Never ult with Sun Wukong unless you already have the inspiration going, unless you're not even close with the inspiration. Laurel's nearly ready, so we can pick up Torador in a second. Great. Get Laurel down. Let's take some peeks. Yeah, let's pick her up. Get Volca down. Trigger, trigger. So this is going to easily be 60K plus on this run. Very strong run. If you guys want to pause it, you can let me know ahead of time in the comments. Who do you think is going to be the top DPS? To be fair, Sun Wukong is in the best shape right now. He didn't get that Wings of Grace, so he's missing out on 2%, but he's getting the very consistent extra rage from Laurel. I did just do something suboptimal there, so I should have seen that Volca's ult was coming, waited to get the vulnerabilities up before triggering the ult there with Sun Wukong. Certainly not the end of the world, though. First time we missed that. See, we're almost coming up now on 35K with still nearly 2 minutes left. We're going to wait here. Go to Sun 1X. Let's get Volca up. Waiting to ult with Dolores before we go with Sun Wukong. Excellent. Let's just wait for Hollow, then we'll pick up Laurel. Great. Up comes Torador. We actually lost all 3 clones there, so pretty interesting. A new one's already back. I'll keep it on overview so you can really see how quickly they come, because they really do come fast and furious, the clones. Let's get an ult going. Second clone just arrived. I hate the way when you click on it, it moves the whole thing. But you can see second clone is there. Third clone's coming in a second. There's our third clone. Oh my god. Well, you can see it. So, Bhutan, you have to make that something you can toggle. The way when you click on someone, it like zooms over and pans over to that character. I really despise it. And I would think a lot of people do as well. Our final shield here. Blast that down. You see the Sun Wukong blast there when he hit with the ult. That really helped. Not that we ever could struggle with that shield with this kind of team and this kind of gear, but you understand what I'm saying. Let's get Torador up in a second. Throw this on 1X. Let's get Laurel down. We're going to wait for these ults. Laura's taking her sweet, sweet time. Come on. Trigger, trigger, up. Great. Let's get going with Hollow. That's 50K now. Get Twyla. So I'd say I'd give myself like a A- or so on this run. It's close to perfect. A couple little mistakes. But, you know, nothing that will move things more than a couple hundreds of blood, certainly not thousands. Let's get that going. Here comes Volca. We should be able to get one quick lineup here with Volca still ulting, Dolores still ulting, and Sun Wukong. You can see really how fast that comes up. Boom. Big burst, about to pass 60K. Volca up. Get our last little thing here. Excellent. Get Torador. And let's see. Can we get 65? Just over 64. Pretty darn strong, like 64.3. Let's see our top DPSers, and we really want to take note, particularly the comparison here is Sun Wukong in a Nightmare comp versus a Watcher comp, so this is going to be his Nightmare number. He's coming in at 132 million. 132 million damage. Next up, we got Arrogance, we got Twyla, and we've got Lucius. Pretty darn close, but that's going to be his number to beat. He got 132.3. So very curious to see how he does in the Watcher comp. He's going to have less attack speed, right? But maybe a little bit more damage boosts. You can also see Ingrid coming in at 78.3 at the end. We got Lucius here, 105.7, Twyla 110.2, Arrogance 116, nearly on the button. All right, let's run it back with a Watcher comp. Literally nothing needs to be changed here. I can't do my auto deploy because that will use my same faction designation. So we are going to have to do that on manual. So you get to see that. But simply, I can just take Sun Wukong and like flip him with Laurel. You can now see we still have the 4 bonus we need to max out Torador's thing. And actually, this should be a little boost for Lucius because now we have an extra Watcher unit. It's a little more frequent on the increased damage and stuff that we can get. So let's head in on manual. We're going to get some playtests going. You'll get a little tutorial on the placements. So first things first, we'll get Sun Wukong placed. Very interesting that he's 15 costs. Pretty crazy, like on top of everything else. We'll get Laurel. She places the Invig buff on him. Then we can get Twyla up here. Get Torador here. Up. So now Twyla has Invig. Let's get Arrogance. And then we'll place Hollow. So now all 3 of these Nightmare DPS, or I guess now Sun Wukong is Watcher, they all have Invig. So Invig, Invig, and Invig. Now we'll place Dolores, and you'll see because Twyla has the most attack, I guess it's going to land on her. So she has been upgraded to Wings of Grace. Very terrible interaction they need to fix, but for now we just have to deal with it. Next up, we have got Ingrid over here. Excuse me. Ingrid over here and Lucius over here. Ingrid, we do have to switch this time for some reason. Last time we didn't. There we go. Maybe the reason it looked like it hadn't switched is because I had done an initial switch already on auto. Anyway, let's go off to the races. All our placements are good. We don't have the full Nightmare bonus. We're going to have to wait till that Volca placement this time, but that's coming in just a second. Let's ult. Let's ult. We're off to the races. We can trigger Laurel because there's no other DPS we're waiting for. The reason I say that is because if Laurel's ulting and someone else ults, she doesn't give them the damage increase. But if another ally ults when she isn't ulting, she does give a damage increase. All right, let's get Laurel up, and you'll see we'll finally get our maxed out Nightmare thing. So plus 35%. There's Sun Wukong ready already. And we're good to go. So now it's just kind of the same repeat as before. Just trying to get this all to work. We're going to wait for Volca before we do Sun Wukong and Twyla. Boom, boom, boom. Make sure not to miss any of those this time. Let's get Volca up. Let's get Laurel. Probably we actually should just wait for her. Wait for Dolores and Sun Wukong. So this is going to be slightly different than the last time, but this is just how it has to go. Is it worth waiting for that 22? It probably is, so we will. Here comes Hollow. There, boom, boom. Excellent. Might as well wait for Twyla as well for Laurel. Give her a little damage increase. So you can see, because she wasn't ulting Laurel, you can see Twyla has this 20% damage boost. Let's get Torador down. We got another one for Sun Wukong. Damage looking great. I think we were at about 24k at the second shield last time, so we'll see where we're at now. Right about the same. So it might end up just being very comparable, which is an interesting result in itself. Laurel's coming fairly soon. This one we're certainly going to wait, so we might as well keep Torador down for the extra seconds. Look how quickly, compared to Dolores, look how fast Sun Wukong gets his rage up. Very impressive with those, when he summons those clones. His exclusive is really, really, really good. Ult. Let's just wait for Hollow. Great. Laurel can come up. Volca. Some Twyla. Should have a little lineup here between Volca, Sun Wukong, and Dolores. And yes, we do. Big burst. So mid-40s again coming for the third shield. Pretty similar. Last time, I believe we got 64.3 as the total. So that's the number to keep in mind. And I do have written down we got 132.2 million for Sun Wukong's damage. Here comes Laurel. We are going to have to wait for a second. I think probably best we wait for everything. I'll already get that Twyla trigger going so she's ready to come back around for the next. There is Dolores. Yeah, we might as well wait for all of this because it's not like Torador is going to be such a big help. Let's get Hollow. Excellent. Up comes Laurel. Torador, we'll get our little baby defense break, which is nice in a lot of content. But for this, you don't really need defense break. That's kind of the thing. Coming up towards 60k now. Let's trigger. Hollow. Looks like it might be a touch more damage this time. Interesting. So even though he's slower, the damage boost is going a long way. Quite curious to see. Let's get up. Just throw this on auto now. And let's see it. Looks like maybe we're coming up at about 66. Almost exactly 67, 66.9. So that was a pretty marked increase, right? We went from 64.3 to 66.9 with a very comparable run, I do believe. Maybe this one was slightly smoother, but I don't think it was 2.3k blood smoother. Let's check the damage, and that's a pretty nice jump from Sun Wukong. So the attack speed boost is nice, but the damage boost and then the special line for the single target damage from Ingrid's Lord skill, very, very nice for him. So there he is coming in at 142.9. Nearly an increase of about 11 million, just between 10 and 11 million boost. You can see pretty major for Lucius. Now he's definitively second best, having that extra watch around the team, and very, very similar here for Arrogance and Twyla, and only about 2.5, 3 million less for Ingrid. Interesting that Ingrid was a little worse. So there you have it. Let me set up, give me 1 second. I'm going to set up our super test, and then we're going to do an A3 test with all those crazy fighter units, see who's the best, and we're going to do an A5 test. All right, here you go. The moment I think most of you have probably been waiting for, certainly what I've been anticipating, our A3 tests and our A5 tests. Let me move myself out of the way. You can see all our key fighters, and these are who I think are the best fighter DPS for Guild Boss 1 in the game. We've got Kigiri, Twyla, Lust, Arrogance, and Sun Wukong. They're all going to be A3. I figure for Sun Wukong, we can A3 him together so I can show you guys the awakenings really quickly. I'm not going to show the whole run. We're using constants. She's going to go right in the middle so that she can give invig to all these different units. One notable thing is Sun Wukong we're running as a Watcher. He's going to miss out on the extra Rage regen from Lust, but I think it will all equal out because his Rage is so good to begin with. Key thing also to note, we got to do our best to time out all these ults to keep an even playing field among these units, so I'll try to line them all up with constants. But with the case of Arrogance, where he has an auto and a non-manual ult, I'll only be able to do that so much. So let's figure out what these awakenings are for Sun Wukong. Let me show you guys. So the A1, pretty good in general. I really do like it. It's not going to really help with this because it's really contingent on units dying, and we're not planning on having any of these guys die. But essentially, the first time he triggers his ult in each battle, so for this battle, allies within 2 tiles, that's like a 2-tile circle around him, a 2-tile radius, will gain monkey business. This prevents them from dying and gives them a heal. This will stay on. So it's a very strong thing, especially for something like deep into a battle in Apocalypse 2. This could totally save you. But for Guild Boss 1, it doesn't really matter. The A2, very simple, plus 300 attack. I know we didn't so explicitly discuss his stats earlier. They're very comparable to Kigiri and Twyla. He's a hair under 6,500, so that plus 300 makes him a hair under 68. Very nice HP. The cost I told you was very unique, quite cheap and really nice. The attack interval shows 1.6 here, but he has a 2.6 base interval, completely standard. The A3 is the thing in question, though, and this is going to be really good. Let's actually throw these two awakenings on right now. There's our A1. That is a long animation. Let's get that plus 300 attack, which all of these units will benefit from. They all have the same A2. And now the A3, so this is what I used to not understand, but now I do, and it's going to be phenomenal for this. So remember, the boss cannot be stunned. So he has that passive where he goes the 25% chance to stun, and if he can't, he deals an extra 200% damage on top of the initial 200% damage. That's his first passive. Now with the A3, his Sage clones can all do that as well. They will deal 150% damage, either a stun if they can do it, but in this case where they cannot, where the boss is immune, they will deal 150% damage. That's really good. And they're also going to help him stack Sunder much quicker. So we're going to ignore defense far more frequently. This is going to be very, very nice. Before we officially head in, let me just show you the builds, just so you see they're all very, very consistent. We've got, crit capped, and then we're always going two crit damage pieces on the right and one attack bonus piece, and all the crit damage is somewhere in that plus 230 range, getting them all around the 380 crit damage mark. So there is Twyla. There is Kigiri. He comes in at 379. Here's Arrogance at 381.5. We've got 384 for Mr. Sun Wukong. And then finally for Lust, 380.5 as well. All the gear is very good, as you can tell. Final thing we have to discuss is artifacts. And you can see whenever a hero has an exclusive, I gave them a maxed out exclusive. So Lust has the Captivation. Arrogance has the Eye of Mockery. We have got the Demonic Relic on Kigiri. Sun Wukong, I had him originally, as you guys saw, the plus 10 Golden Cudgel. We're swapping this out for the maxed out version. Really, really good artifact for him. And then finally, Twyla does not have an exclusive. I hope they add one soon, where it's either between the Scarlet Hunt or the Wailing Skull. I like the Wailing Skull more for this content. So there you have it. Without further ado, let's head into battle. It's going to be very simple. I already did the setup. Basically, it's just our DPS with Constance in the middle and then Hollow underneath Constance, healing everyone up. So let's press auto so we can head into the fight. And I will manually do this and take the whole thing over, but we're going to be speeding up a lot. You can see that is how we're doing it. So Constance is covering literally everybody. Sun Wukong I put here because he should have enough spots to place. We got to see if they let him place clones here. That could be an issue. We might have to circle back. I'm also realizing it might be an issue with Twyla's summon from her artifact. So if that's a problem, I'll just fix it and we'll go in and out. Okay, so I've realized there is no way we can get 3 clones out for Sun Wukong as this stands, and I do want this to be a fair test. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to take out Constance. We'll put Sun Wukong here, and then he should be able to cover multiple squares, right? Because this square where he's currently is will be open, and then these two on the side, and then the Twyla clone from the Wailing Skull is taking up space. So we'll just switch her into a Scarlet Hunt. That should give him, because of his unique range, right? If we click on him, we put him in this middle spot, that should give him this spot, and this spot. We're going to have to try to get through this without Constance, which would be a fun little challenge as is. And it also kind of equals the playing field. We can just throw on auto ults. Nothing will really matter because there's no really special timing. So let's actually exit out of this and let me show you the changes I just described. My apologies for that, but I just want to have a super even test, fair to all of these heroes so they can really shine in all their glory. So this is what we're going to do. Constance is out of the battle now. We can actually just leave her so we have an extra Watcher unit to help Sun Wukong and balance that out a bit, but she will not get deployed. I also should have mentioned no one is wearing Invig sets. I broke them all up like you can see here with Hollow because I really wanted everything perfectly even. Let's go to Twyla and let's take this out so we don't have to worry about her summons. Let's put her in a maxed out Scarlet Hunt. She'll keep very high uptime on the bleed, so that's very fair. It's too bad she doesn't have an exclusive, but that's part of the game, right? She's the one that doesn't get the exclusive. So let's head into battle again now. And actually, I'll just be able to introduce this to you guys, take my picture away, and just throw the auto ults on. Won't matter too much. So what we can do, we can put Sun Wukong right here in the middle. Then we can get Twyla, we can get Arrogance, we can get Lust, we can get Kigiri. Then all we need here is just just hollow, and we're kind of good. If we look at Sun Wukong, he's going to be able to cover this spot, and this spot for summons. So I'll throw this on 2x. I'm just going to click auto ults, and we are off to the races. See you guys at the end, and we're going to get to check out the very cool damage numbers. Actually, I do want to pause here and just show you, we've got monkey clone, monkey clone, monkey clone. So I was correct in the deployment. Now he can actually get all 3 clones out. Let's continue. All right, here we come up on the 3rd and final shield, guys. This might be kind of tough, right? No Invig, no Invig, yes, no Wings of Grace, and no Inspiration here to help us. But with this crazy gear, with this endgame kind of stuff and all these A3 heroes, look at that. We can tear right through it. And I actually think we're looking at a 50K with only 6 deployed units. It looks like more because of all the Sun Wukong clones. And yeah, we're getting 50K here. Granted, we got max out artifacts now. We have got Awaken level 3 on some of the best units in the game. We're using Legendary Lords. But look at that. Pretty dang impressive. I think this test went really well in terms of functionality. It's been very fair. I've been hands off the whole time. I just clicked Hollow's ult once during a shield when she had nothing to heal. Aside from that, though, we've just been cooking. Look at that. We're coming up towards 60K, which is pretty dang remarkable. Hard to compare to the other one because that was all A0. But not such a meta strat or anything. It's just unloading insane DPS. Actually, what I can do, I can save this run, and we can just run that back once we A5 everybody. And look at that. Sun Wukong still coming out on top. This is all fresh to me. I hadn't done this test yet. I thought there was certainly a chance that Twyla was going to take this, or Kigiri, so I was right about the top 3. You can see Lust is not really going to come alive till A5. Kigiri's A5 is crazy. Twyla really is peaking already at A3. This is quite interesting. For these shorter battles, it's not perfectly optimal for her because she can't max out her passive. It's still really nice. Arrogance will get a big boost at A5. Lust, as I said. Kigiri, his biggest boost is A3, but A5 will be really good. And then I'm expecting Sun Wukong is like double ulting, right? He's going from 18 hits to 36 hits on his A5, and he can get many more stacks of his damage boosts against bosses and elites. So let me take a minute, A5 all these heroes, and we shall do our final test. All right, guys, there you go. You can see all our units are now A5. Twyla's A5 is the least interesting of the bunch. Sun Wukong, this is going to be crazy with his ultimate now. Kigiri is incredible with his A5. Arrogance is nice, but doesn't stack up to these two. And then Lust is incredible as well. So those are our 5 DPS. They are all A5. I realized I said that I was going to do the whole thing auto fight. I think just because of the RNG of Lust's whipping, that could throw things off. So what we'll do instead, we'll let this run to start. And now I'm going to interrupt it and just throw the auto ults on. I'll take myself away unless somehow there's something worth commenting on. Otherwise, we'll check in at the end. We'll see if it's the same order. Remember, it went Sun Wukong, then Kigiri, then Twyla, then Arrogance, then Lust. I'm very interested. I'll tell you, I think it's going to still be Sun Wukong at number 1. Kigiri maybe is going to give him a run for his money. We'll have to see. And we'll finish off. I'll put up a little table with our final results so you guys can see all that. See you in a minute. All right, here you have it, guys. And this really shows you how crazy Awakenings are. No hands, only 6 units. Same kind of gear we're using the whole time. We had the really meta cycling strat, manual making it all perfect, but everyone was A0. We scored our best 66.9. Now we're almost at 72K, just doing nothing. So 71.7, pretty remarkable. Huge jump from like 58 or 59 where we just were. Let's check these stats. And when you know it, Sun Wukong coming in still at number 1. Interesting enough, Arrogance ahead of A5 Lust. That does surprise me. His A5 is really good. But we were right about the top two, Sun Wukong, then Kigiri, then Arrogance, then Lust, who jumped way up, right? She was at 78.3 last time. She jumped way up to 106.2. We're going to round it to 106.3. And then actually Twyla at the end. If this is a longer battle, it would be really interesting to see. Maybe one day we'll do a big Semra test. That's kind of hard because everyone steals damage from each other. But let's put this into our final chart and let's get our concluding thoughts. So here is the final summary of all our results. You can see our first two tests, the A0 tests, where we tried Sun Wukong as a Nightmare unit versus a Watchguard unit and changed nothing else. He did 10.6 million more damage. You can see all the damage is in millions. So 10.6 million more damage as a Watcher as opposed to a Nightmare unit. That was an increase of 8.01%. Then the thing I think that's most interesting to everyone, who is the best, especially with Awakenings in Guild Boss 1. At A3, Sun Wukong was first at 113.5, then Kigiri 109.7, Twyla at 104 flat, Arrogance at 97.8, then Lust at 78.3. At A5, very interesting. You can see here the crazy increases. Let's start with Twyla. At A4, Twyla gets penetration. Twyla's attack is so high, and she's already ignoring so much defense. And the Guild Boss 1, Drake, has such low defense to begin with that this made like no difference. So actually just with RNG, her damage went down 0.6%. So for Guild Boss 1, A3 Twyla, that's basically her optimal peak. You tinker with a couple other things on manual, but that's basically it. Biggest increase was Sun Wukong, up 40.3%. I told you that A5 was going to be crazy. Indeed it is. That's insane to see. And that's not compared to A0. That is compared to his A3. That is remarkable. And don't compare these two tests because this was manual, this was auto, this was real meta comp, this was just damage testing. If we go here to Kigiri, he jumped 35% from 109.7 to 148.1. Then in third place actually is Arrogance, who went from 97.8 to 121.1. That was a 23.8% jump. And actually our second biggest jump was Lust, who went from 78.3 all the way up to 106.3. That was a 35.8%. So Awakenings are phenomenal for any hero, as you can see, some more than others. But Sun Wukong was the best. He got the biggest boost from Awakenings. This guy is completely and utterly legit. I really think this test is going to convince any potential people wavering. This is someone you absolutely have to go for. Get that base copy. He was good enough at A0. Unless you're an enormous spender, you have unpolished soulstones to use, or you're going to get really lucky. A0 is what we're going to have to use. So pretty crazy. I will talk about if he's worth unpolished soulstones. For a lot of accounts, especially accounts still progressing, he absolutely is. Certainly if you can get him up to that A3. That, though, is a story for another day. Thank you guys so much for watching. I have been Fastidious. If you like my stuff, like it. This video took a couple hours, so please like the video, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Share it with your mother, especially if she loves monkeys that are way too overpowered in these games. And thank you again for watching. I'll see you guys real soon. Goodbye.
Fastidious.